Sam Harris, who's had a rough past, to say the least, with Israel, conservatism, all the such, is chiming in on Piers Morgan. I'm excited to see this. I'm Tal the Traveling Cloud, your favorite Zionist prince. Let's take a look.
Involving several people. One was Mossab Hassam Youssef. He's the son of one of the Hamas co-founders who then renounced Hamas and moved away. And he said this about what's going on at the moment in the Israel-Gaza war. Let's take a listen.
Any person who put the religious identity above the highest interest of humanity, I have no respect for this people. The majority of the Muslim people identified with Hamas, supported Hamas. Show me how many Muslims out there who condemned Hamas genocide.
What was interesting about that is that he was really suggesting that the motivating factor behind what Hamas did and why people are supporting them in such big numbers in the Muslim community is because they're Muslims. It's religion driven. Now, you're an atheist, but what do you think of that, of this idea that it's actually really about religion?
Well, I'm going to agree with him. I think it's interesting to note that many of your listeners will doubt my ability to make the statements of the sort I'm now going to make.
Right.
But they can't doubt that of him, right? I mean, he obviously knows whereof he speaks, right? You can't play the identity politics game with him and say that, you know, he doesn't understand the culture, he's the wrong skin color, he doesn't speak the language, et cetera, et cetera. So let's let's flag that particular qualm with what I'm going to say. What I'm going to say is it should just be obvious to everyone, which is that we have a vast number of people in the Muslim community worldwide, not just in the occupied territories or in Gaza, who are powerfully deranged by religious symbols and their religious identity, which is to say it is the most important thing to them, but more important even than the deaths of their own children.
Absolutely.
Right? We're talking about a culture, again, I'm not talking about just Palestinians, I'm talking about the Muslim community worldwide in dozens of countries that has produced a seemingly unending supply of suicide bombers over the last 50 years, right? We're talking about societies where phenomenon that should be impossible are simply to be expected. I mean, literally like rigging children to explode. Just that, I mean, think of how deranging that is for an army or a police force or an NGO or anyone to have to imagine that a child isn't simply a child, but a child might, in fact, under certain circumstances, be a bomb, right? I mean, that is the situation we're in. We're talking about a society, and now I'm talking about the Gaza and the West Bank in particular, where in their schools, they teach 6-year-olds the love of martyrdom, the literal aspiration to die as a martyr, and the hatred of Jews. And many of these schools are UN funded, right? So this is a terrifying situation which the world has simply acquiesced to. I mean, the world on some level has simply accepted that there is a different standard held to the Muslim community, right? We all understand that you can stage a play making fun of Mormonism on Broadway and it can become the biggest musical in the United States, the Book of Mormon. But to stage such a play about Islam would be unthinkable, and to be unthinkable not because the First Amendment doesn't protect the freedom of speech with respect to Islam, it does, but that protection has been forfeited. It was forfeited long ago because of the tendency in the Muslim community to erupt with just psychopathic rage in response to what it perceives to be the desecration of religious symbols.
I have to pause for a second because actually this is so true. And the story of, I'm forgetting his name right now, he's the Swedish-Iraqi non-Muslim who was burning the Quran. While I don't support that action per se, I do support the fact that anybody should be able to do that. And it's so true because actually when I think about it in America now, nobody in America will dare to do anything that provokes Muslims because they know that Muslims will come out of the woodwork and kill people over it. They will kill people over it. They won't. Christians won't do that. Jews won't do that. At least if they do, it is very, very rare. And that's a terrifying thought because that's already far gone.
And that should be intolerable to us. But it's, we have acquiesced to it. And the new norm is there are certain things you can't say about Islam. There are certain symbols you can't traduce. And it's because we know that tens of thousands, even hundreds of thousands of people will march into the streets, even in the capitals of Europe, in response to those blasphemies.
Could you flip the argument the other way too. Some people would say that the scale, the disproportionate, as many see it, scale of Israel's response is motivated in some part, again, by a religious motivation, that some of the more hardline, ultra-religious members of Netanyahu's cabinet really do want to have some kind of genocidal war with the Muslim Palestinians. I mean, does it work both ways?
Well, it does work both ways when you're talking about a tiny minority of Jews in Israel. I mean, the ultra-Orthodox, the settlers the minority of settlers who are motivated by their religious fanaticism. Yeah, I think those religious claims upon real estate in the Middle East are not justified, and they aren't, in fact, part of the problem. And so, yes, the settlements in the West Bank are certainly provocative, and they should be disallowed, right? If we were ever going to get to a two-state solution, part of the remedy there is to disenfranchise the religious maniacs on the Israeli side. But in terms of the scale of the problem, it is orders of magnitude smaller. I mean, not just for that particular region, but for the whole world. I mean, we're talking, there are 15 million Jews on Earth. Most of them are impressively secular. Most believe very little that would motivate a person to want to die for their religious identity. The real justification.
Yeah, I just on that, I would just say, I just wonder whether you think that what is going on now in Gaza, the kind of obliteration of a lot of Gaza, the mass killing of civilians and so on, which Israel will justify by saying they're trying to get rid of a terror group. I understand the thinking, but the execution has been so increasingly indiscriminate that is there not a danger that it actually massively increases the radicalization problem rather than remove it?
Well, there's two pieces to that answer. One is that the real problem of radicalization, I would say, is not connected in any kind of rational way to real-world grievances, right? I mean, so the real problem of radicalization is the level of ideas, right? Ideas around martyrdom and jihad that easily cross borders, and as we saw with the Islamic State, can easily win recruits from 100 countries. I mean, so you literally have people who have no discernible grievance against anyone. I mean, you have somebody dropping out of medical school in London going to fight with the Islamic State purely on the power of certain ideas, right? So that's a larger problem of jihadism and specific religious beliefs that are endemic to Islam, and that it is taboo to criticize. If you're a Muslim, you certainly risk your life and with charges of apostasy and blasphemy if you criticize these ideas. But specifically with Gaza, the killing of innocents in Gaza is an absolute tragedy, and it's very easy to understand why people seeing that imagery think that Israel is in the wrong for producing so many casualties. But they are fighting a terrorist organization, a jihadist organization, that is using its own civilian population as human shields. It has strategically embedded itself among civilians. It wears civilian clothing, right? It put its headquarters under a hospital. It prevents civilians from leaving to safer areas because it wants to produce carnage, because carnage is an advantage in this PR war against Israel. And frankly, these people sincerely believe in paradise. They think that good Muslims are going to go to paradise wherever they die, however they die. And so there is, in fact, no problem with this carnage, right? And that's the thing that is very difficult for secular people to get their heads around, that people actually believe these things. When members of Hamas chant, "We love death more than the Jews love life," that is a sincere expression of their worldview, right? It's not propaganda, it's not posturing. It is a confession of a psychological state of mind and of a worldview. And we doubt that at our peril, right? I mean, this is the issue. We're dealing with a suicidal death cult that doesn't care about its own civilian casualties. In fact, its own civilian casualties are an additional advantage for it.
Sam Harris, great to talk to you again. I really appreciate you coming on and speaking with us.
It's actually so weird to see Piers Morgan not be a total buffoon on an episode. He actually respectfully let Sam speak. I don't agree with Sam fundamentally on the West Bank, especially in Judea and Samaria, but 12 Jews, 25,000 different opinions is the saying. We're not all going to agree on everything, but I just think he fundamentally misunderstands what it takes to get peace in this region, and definitely giving up land is not the correct choice. That's 100% been proven already. We know that when we give up land, we don't get peace, so why would we do it over and over again? And also, by the way, that would be actual apartheid, is creating a Palestinian state in the West Bank, because no Jews would be allowed to live in it. That would be completely fucked up and totally not moral or ethical in any way. But 100%, like the fundamental understanding of the fact that Hamas uses everything it can to sow chaos into the society. It supersedes though just Hamas, and my problem is when we infantilize the Palestinian people. This is an issue that supersedes the terrorist group as an organized group, and it actually filters down to the people themselves. The people themselves are also a problem. It doesn't mean that Palestinians aren't allowed to live. It doesn't mean that we should kill Palestinians. It doesn't mean that they're all bad. It means, though, that there's a massive issue in Palestinian society, and one that we all have to address. If we don't address it, I don't know what we're doing here. We're just playing games. We have to address the fact that there's a major issue in Palestinian society, and what is that? The fact that they openly endorse terrorism, many of them. How are we ever going to move forward if we don't address this point? Once we address that point, we can actually move forward, but we need to address that point and then deal with that issue. I'll see you guys in the next one. I love you long time. Goodbye, clans. If you believe in my content and want to support me, just know your help is needed. There's a bunch of great ways to support me, being PayPal, Buy Me a Coffee, or joining my Patreon community down below. Patreon is the best way to support my channel, and you'll get a bunch of cool perks depending on what tier you join. Another great way to support me is by buying my merchandise on thetravelingclat.com. I regularly drop new merch designs like this beautiful hat, or this amazing shirt, where you can support the channel and get something cool for yourself. I also have an amazing Discord community with people from all over the world. Thank you so much for your support.